alternate?
Alternate.
You're rubbing it in.
Bill's member.
John Racine, member.
Terry Wake, member.
Rob Wilson, alternate.
Okay, and I'll seat both Mike and Rob. I don't know if we're supposed to seat for a workshop, but we'll do that anyway. I guess there's no vote, so it doesn't make much difference. All right, we're gonna review the notes that Tara put on the subdivision review of the regulations that she's suggesting we work on for her review this year. And we'll start, Tara's not here, so she can't really go through what it was, her intent was. And some of the writing is a little difficult to read, but we'll go through what we can, come up with so what information we can to pass on, or pass back to Tara, so that she can at least continue on a little bit more than what she had done already. And Mike, we started with recodifying, or Rich started with recodifying. And I would say yes, to make it consistent with what others is in the book. For some reason, she's crossed out appendices. And I know that there will be some changes probably, but she's crossed out that whole section. I don't understand exactly why that is.
Yeah.
And she circled one application for the change of use. I'm assuming she couldn't find it probably. I know some of the appendices have it there. So we'll pass on that unless somebody's got a suggestion as to why that's completely crossed out. And going on to Article 1, the authority and purpose, she has the note as amended, and I don't see anything wrong with that. I think it makes it more accurate, probably is best that it be added. And I don't know whether this is under Article 2 or Article 1, but she has a note over here that says put in here when approval is required. And something in parentheses after that.
That says, look like remove.
Was that remove 3.01?
Rumor.
I think that's what she said, and it kind of made
Okay.
some level of sense.
So I don't know where 3.1 is, but.
Sort of.
I don't have any problem with it putting in when it is required. It's the same thing as what we did with the site plan review. I thought that was good, a good addition.
Is that something that would go in a definition?
Well, I don't think she means to put in the definitions. I think it's a
Put in,
follow-up
put in
on
when?
one.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
And it would be a good place to put it. I think in the site plan review, it had its own section actually, but it seemed legitimate to put under authority and purpose. Wouldn't be a bad
Okay.
place to put it, so I'm putting in yes on that.
Mhm.
And maybe remove 3.01 is, I'm not sure. Well, I guess I'd have to pass on that.
I don't think there is a 3.01 here. I thought.
No, that would be, is that related to some other section?
Some other document.
Well, yeah, some other section of the larger
Yeah,
section, whatever, section 3.
but which article?
I don't know which one.
So I would say,
We'll have to ask.
yeah, I have to ask on that. Question mark. And then, under definition, she has review last. I'm not sure what she means by last, but review certainly, I would agree. And I did have a question on the second, doesn't have a page number, but under open space, the third sheet, or above open space,
Yeah.
she's written minor lot line adjustment, and I don't know how that,
She wants to insert a definition of minor lot line adjustment.
how does a minor lot line adjustment differ from a lot line adjustment?
Probably, my guess was if we also go back, for example, to our last meeting, where we talked about a minor as opposed to a full, maybe she's saying, what is is there such a thing as a minor lot line adjustment?
I think she's saying we should have a,
Yeah, and so there should be such a thing as a minor lot line.
Yeah, but that differentiates it from a lot line adjustment.
Correct, the same
What's
as
the
we
difference?
would have, we have other things where we have full and minor. We wanna have a minor lot line adjustment. Here, does it exist? She's saying it must exist somewhere else for other.
Well, a lot line adjustment falls under the category of minor subdivision, I think, doesn't it, Mark? A lot line adjustment doesn't require the standard.
It's totally separate from a minor subdivision.
Right,
It's a totally different thing.
well, but I'm saying you can have, we have such as a subdivision and a minor subdivision.
Yes.
Is that, do we need such a thing, which is what I think she's saying, as a lot line adjustment and a minor lot line adjustment? I don't know what a minor line, but I think that's what she's saying, because it would actually go in right here alphabetically.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to check with her, but usually when we say minor, there can't be any further development because of that action.
Mhm.
So in a minor subdivision, as long as you're not creating two lots that could be further subdivided, then you can do the minor subdivision. And the same thing with a lot line adjustment. If you're adjusting a line, but you're creating a subdividable lot, then you couldn't do a minor lot line adjustment on that. Sometimes you're just.
No, I understand, but that would say that we should have a definition of a.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I
right.
need, that's what I need
Right.
from her is what her definition, but that's been generally what our definition has been.
Well, the
here in
definition,
town.
the definition of a lot line adjustment is the adjustment of a boundary line between two adjacent lots, which does not increase the number of owners or the number of lots.
Well, right, it doesn't, that action doesn't increase it. But if by adjusting the line, you make one of the lots
Subdivided.
subdividable, then I would say you would not want to call that a minor lot line adjustment. You know what I mean? Just to keep it clear what you're doing.
All right, so maybe the intent is to add that then.
Well, I think that's the intent.
Yep.
I mean, that's the way I took
think you
it.
just need to ask her for her definition of what a.
right, because that would seem to
Minor,
be in the lot
yes.
line adjustment. Because it does say, which does not increase the number of owners or the number of lots. That's what's in the-
You can not increase, you can make the adjustment and not increase the number of owners or increase,
Right.
because it takes a further action to increase the number of owners,
Owners,
right?
Well, we'll ask Tara.
all right,
Yeah.
yeah, that's,
I think just making that it's minor,
yeah.
whether it's a subdivision or a lot line adjustment, it's minor as long as nothing can be further subdivided is a simple way to.
She's talking about adding a definition for boundary line agreement. What would that be?
Boundary line agreement?
Yeah,
Perhaps it's just standard for these sorts of things.
Yeah, I don't know.
Where do you see
what-
that, Terry?
It's,
Top page,
in the B's, it's alphabetical.
it's not, the pages aren't numbered, but I'd say it's page number 2 on the top.
Oh, okay, okay.
I don't know what that would be.
Not heard of such a. Alaska.
Would seem to fall on the boundary line adjustment, but,
Mm.
or lot line adjustment, but we'll find out, we'll ask her. She has on the next page, in definitions, she wants to add voluntary merger. I think that's a good idea because we did have a merger and there really wasn't much in the
Yeah, I.
regulations about it. There was an application or a form in the appendix, but that was about the only thing. So yeah, I'd say yes. And she's crossed out way, a definition of way, which is any public or private highway, street, avenue, road, alley, or parkway. She says it does not go with access ways
Section.
section. So, does not go with access ways section. I guess I'd want to go through that with her, I don't know.
But I mean, wouldn't this kind of say, I mean, when I read it and then I read the definition of a way, that means that it's anything you can travel on? If I read this, any public or private highway, I don't know what a private highway would be, street, avenue, road, alley, or parkway, I mean, if that means that it's anything you can travel on,
Mhm.
including an alley, which doesn't have to be big enough for a car, theoretically. I think. I haven't been down a lot of alleys lately.
So you think it should be
Come
kept
with me
in?
tonight.
Well, I don't know, I mean, I suppose if the term way is used anywhere else in here, and I don't have a searchable version of this, but basically it includes anything you can travel on.
I don't understand what her comment is.
I mean, but am I wrong? I mean,
No, I just don't understand what her comment is,
Yeah.
which is obviously behind why she crossed it out, so I'll have to ask her.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the access way section is or where it is, but maybe we'll come across it.
do you have a searchable version of this? Searchable
No,
PDF?
we just have what we,
Okay,
Under general provisions, general requirements, whenever any subdivision of land, and she's got LLA.BCA,
I think
Vol
it's a comma,
merger.
maybe. LLA, comma, BLA, and voluntary merger.
Yeah.
is
boundary line
proposed.
adjustment, lot line adjustment,
Right,
boundary line adjustment,
voluntary merger.
voluntary merger.
I know it's as a definition of subdivision of land. In other words, whenever a subdivision of land, comma, LLA, BLA, submerger, except I don't know if it should be comma or parens, because it's
Yeah, she can
divided. But I mean, I think that what she's saying is appropriate. Just not sure that the way it's written is appropriate.
I wonder if this goes back to the first page where she's saying put in where approval is required.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the approval thing. I think, I took it as a definition of subdivision of land.
Now, I think you're beyond the definitions at this point, and you're into general requirements, and she seems to be stating when it's
In addition
required.
to subdivision, I read it as an addition to a subdivision.
Okay.
Not as a definition of subdivision.
Whenever any subdivision of land is proposed, before any construction, land clearing, or building development is begun, before any permit for the erection of any building in such proposed subdivision shall be granted, and before the subdivision plat may be filed in the office of the Registry of Deeds of Grafton County, the subdivider or his authorized agent shall apply for and secure approval of such proposed subdivision in accordance with the procedures contained in these regulations.
So maybe we don't need that, because it says,
I don't know.
This is similar to what we have in the site plan review regulations. And it seems to work well. In the site plan review, I think she put it under a particular paragraph that said when it's required. And maybe it could be done here. But
can't hurt.
it can't hurt. I just don't want to, I don't like putting requirements in two different places because sometimes they can start to conflict. So I'm going back to the first page and I'm going to ask about Article 3, Section AA.
at least have a reference to it
Yeah,
in both places so they cross-reference back to each other.
make sure they don't
Change
conflict.
one, you know to go and change the other.
By the way, Terry, the page is in the upper left-hand corner.
What about the, oh, no, they are, okay,
Yeah.
very good, thank you. All right, so going on to page 7, under soils data.
I can move to appropriate
Regulation.
regulation.
Revised?
I mean, we
And move to
need
appropriate regulations.
A requirement?
Probably regulation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she might be saying to put it, I'm not sure where. I'm gonna write the question where.
Well, yeah, in other words, she's saying that's not a general provision, it is something you must do, I guess.
So currently it's under, premature subdivision. No,
No, it's under the general,
Well,
okay.
no, it is under the.
It's under general
Section-
requirement.
Section C. No, it's not.
No, it's under general
It's under
provisions.
general provisions,
general
yeah.
provisions, yeah, so it's a separate standalone as it's written here. She's saying for some reason it doesn't belong here.
I don't have any problem with that, I just don't know where to put it. And down below that, drainage, update, strengthen, and move to standards. I don't have any problem with that. Storm drainage can be carried to existing water courses. She must mean it's out of date somehow. If a subdivision stormwater drainage creates an additional flow over other properties except through defined water courses, the subdivider shall obtain easement therefore from the owner and shall hold the town harmless from any claims resulting. I'm not sure what she wants to update it to. Maybe she doesn't feel it's
Well, the key
detailed
word
enough.
but the key word is the middle word,
Strengthen,
strengthen.
It could be there's been
change.
state
Yeah,
law
I
change.
think the holding the town harmless from any claims
It's
is
big.
important.
Mhm.
That would be strengthening it, because I don't think we have.
Yeah, but that's already in here.
Yeah, it says hold the town harmless.
No, but isn't that her wording though?
No,
No, that's already in there.
It's, maybe she wants to strengthen
Maybe she wants
something.
to strengthen it.
Yeah.
Or maybe referring back to the road regulations,
so we want a yes on that then.
yes.
Certainly. Strengthening is good.
Always.
Okay, page 8, section K, conformity to regulations. She wants to, her note is New Hampshire State Building Code, or does Water the Valley have her on? We have a code, but I think it's BI.
What is, wait a minute, when it has special flood, what does she mean by check?
Oh, you section above?
Yeah. I'm just curious.
You'll have to ask her.
I was gonna ask somebody else.
That's good selecting.
Get in line.
We've adopted the international building code,
Okay,
and we adopted them in a way that when they change, the changed ones are
apply.
what we use. I think it's most recent version, or some other language like that.
I didn't know New Hampshire had a state building code.
We don't, they all refer back to the international
Yeah.
building codes.
Okay, I don't see anything wrong with updating that and referring to IBC instead of BOCA, so. Zoning ordinance. Yeah, I think section J, where she wrote check, I think that's probably for her own edification. I think that's a note to herself,
Yeah.
I would assume.
Mhm.
Page 9, section B, design review phase. And I guess it starts with a purpose here. Prior to the submission of the completed application, any person proposing a subdivision may request to meet with the board involving more specific design and engineering details of the potential application. This is under the design review phase, and she's written expand purpose. Oh, okay, so she wants to continue and say in order to. such and
In
such.
order to blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
I got no problem with that.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's, not I suppose. And under notification, this is the process of notifying the butters. She writes, well, let me read it. Maybe it'll make sense after. Notification. The design review phase may proceed only after identification of the notice to the applicant. abutters, and general public as required by RSA. Not less than 10 days prior to the meeting, the applicant and abutters shall be notified by certified mail, and posted notice in 2 public places in the town shall notify the general public. And she's written and on,
Well, engineers and
Engineers,
conservation holders.
holders, that's how I read it too.
I
I'm
don't
not sure
know.
either, I don't know.
Well, I'm not sure I care. Who's engineers? Town engineers, or, I'm assuming that would be,
Town doesn't have an engineer.
Well,
That's
that's
what-
what, and is it go at number 2 or paragraph 3? Then it was the paragraph below.
no, I think that notification goes in,
No, her comment.
yeah, is there such a thing as a conservation holder? Does that exist?
Sure, there can be conservation holders.
But do we have any?
what is it?
So if someone has given a conservation trust or something like that, and it's on that land, they would be, so if someone had given an easement or had given something in conservation trust to the Conservation Commission, and it was
Okay.
on that land, you would notify the.
So
Conservation-
I Mike Capel, buy this piece of land and
Yeah.
I give it to the town, and
Or
what I
you
give,
a conservation.
and I give it, and I give it such that I designate that it can only be used for
Whatever.
conservation purposes, for example.
And you do that in favor of the Conservation Commission.
That is true. It would go through the
Or
conservation.
you may have given it to the Appalachian Trails group or
WVIA, it goes to some,
WBAIA. or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I don't
So they
understand.
would be a.
But wouldn't that be in a butter?
No, they're not in a butter, it's on the land.
They have an easement.
That you're working on.
Oh, okay.
Is it standard practice to notify the engineers?
I,
What
we
in,
don't
my
have,
goodness, what in,
we don't have anyone on retainer for the planning board. There's no, unless you're notifying the
Town.
the developers.
no, I would say this is town engineers.
Well,
We don't have one.
We
We
might,
don't have, well, we may,
so you put it in there and
yeah, whatever.
put it in there because it may happen.
I mean, you could have town engineers if present, or you can always.
Why would you
Tell the
notify a
engineers.
separate town entity?
I didn't understand, I understood conservation.
The town is the
Right.
town.
I don't somebody that has a conservation.
Maybe in larger towns, I mean, is this where you go to talk about sewer at this phase and electricity and roads and?
Yeah, but you're notifying staff. Why would you notify, do you have to notify?
Notify in a legal sense.
We
I see
would,
what
we
you're
would
saying.
notify.
Do you have to
Anybody
notify
that would
Chris
need
Hodges?
Right, I'm
by
sorry, yes.
certified mail?
Right, no,
Well, no, but
That's-
I don't see a purpose for engineers. I do see a purpose for a conservation holder.
I
Oh,
vote
yeah,
for
yeah,
that.
No, I don't have any problem with that.
I'm gonna say okay to conservation holders and a
And what
question mark.
intent.
Question mark. for
Yeah.
the
what her
town.
intent was.
Yeah. And below that,
Maybe it is an engineer.
list of,
Maybe it's like it's somebody driving a train.
on the submission of data, there's a list of what's supposed to be submitted, and she writes how many copies, and question mark, maybe a PDF file. I think
This is
PDF file's a good
21st
idea, yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say, I'd ask her what she suggests for copies.
Do we want to say PDF or just a digitized copy? I mean, because.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be PDF, you're right.
Does it? I mean, Or does
I'd
it?
rather it specify a PDF.
Right.
Because we get all kinds of weird.
Formats,
Yeah,
yeah,
there
digital
can be-
formats.
formats that we can't read. So I'd rather get a PDF that's universal,
Easier to distribute.
easier to distribute.
Do we have a good idea of how many copies of the hard set we would like?
I really think the minimum number that you guys are comfortable with, because the paper becomes a problem. And then you can't get rid of old copies and.
I'd say two.
Huh?
I'd say 2.
Yeah, I don't see any reason for.
One for
more than
the,
two.
one is a working copy and.
One is a working copy and one for.
Plus a PDF.
Oh, yeah,
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 yeah.
plus
Mhm.
PDF,
Yeah, all right.
absolutely.
It should always be the PDF.
Okay, so we'll say 2 hard copies.
Digitized copy.
Well,
Plus,
it just
PDF.
means that, well, you should all have the agreement that you're willing to work off the 11 by 17
Mhm.
hard copies, because that's what we're gonna be able to make out of the PDF. We're
Mhm.
not gonna be able to provide you with,
no, but you'll have the hard copy, which is full size here, for someone to come in and
That's
review it, couldn't read the
That's right.
plan.
I'm talking about when you're looking at it.
At home, when you send the PDF file to.
No, but when
Or
you're.
here.
Yeah, but if
you would have printed out.
I would always rather have the PDF that I can make bigger, I can
That's-
make notes on.
That's-
I'm not old like some other.
As long as you're only able.
Yep, you got to put PDF in.
Right.
So,
Okay, she has crossed out the item number 5, which says the board may require further detailing or information in additional meetings before advising the applicant to proceed with the completed application. The applicant shall be guided by the board as to the need of further meetings and advisability of submitting a formal application. And number 6, the request for design review, a phased project which has been previously reviewed as part of the approved subdivision may be combined with a formal application for final approval. She's taken that out of the engineering review. This is all in the design review phase. Now, the design review phase is before the application is brought in. And it's the developer can request a design review, but supposedly they're not, and no one during that design review was bound by anything that's being said. So it's more of a, try to help the developer determine what's going to be required for.
so her problem is really the word require.
Yeah, I think she's probably trying to avoid getting us into a situation where we're nailed down for something.
Okay.
And as far as I'm concerned, the less that you put into the design review information, the better, because it really is an informal thing.
That's
it. Do you agree?
Yeah, may I guess back to perhaps expand purpose to
Yeah. So I guess
advisory, not.
I'm gonna say okay to the crossing it out. I don't know how we're gonna get this information to Tara unless we email a scanned copy of my set. And I'm making my notes just as difficult to read as hers.
Well, you're taking all this down, right?
And the video is recording. I can shoot her an email and just give her the link to the video. And then she can, while at home, go through what you guys are talking about with her copy. And she'd probably be able to decipher
Okay,
that way.
We'll send her a PDF of yours and the link to that.
yeah.
Let her work.
Because I'm not making my notes real complete. Like I've got engineers circled with a question mark. Now she may wonder if that means we don't know who the engineers are or whether it should stay in or not. But I think it'll get 90% of what we want anyway.
She'll come back.
Okay, page 10, under notification. This is under the larger heading, application for subdivision approval. And the notification under that. And it reads, the completed application phase may proceed only after the applicant, the abutters, and the general
I don't know,
public.
what about above that? I'm sorry, Deb.
Well, I was gonna read the paragraph first and then,
No, above that where she has a question mark after comfort.
oh, yeah, I didn't see that.
I'm sorry.
Okay, under subdivision obligations, subdivider shall familiarize himself with all state and town regulations relative to health, comfort, buildings, streets, utilities, and other pertinent data. She's got a question mark after comfort, and I can understand why.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
because we don't know what it means.
I don't have a problem with that.
I'll say strike it. And now down to notification, and I'll read the paragraph first. The completed application may proceed only after the applicant, the abutters, and the general public have been notified, as required by RSA. Not less than 10 days prior to the meeting, the applicant and abutters, and she's got this underlined, shall be notified by certified mail and a posted notice in 2 public places in town shall notify the general public. The notice shall state the date, time, and place of the board meeting at which the completed application will be formally submitted to the board, and shall include a general description of the proposed subdivision, its location, and the name of the applicant. She's written, include others who have to be noticed.
Well,
Or
would
notified.
that be engineers and the
Right,
conservation,
same
just
one that
like
she's
the
talking
other?
Not
before.
noticed, that's the issue, yeah, in a legal sense.
So we'll say, okay. And down below, she's written, or on the side,
I have a question, and is the second sentence,
I think that can be said a whole lot
It's two-
simpler.
it
Two
seems,
separate sentences.
Yeah,
will-
two separate
Two separate
sentences
sentences instead of a
and
semicolon.
Yeah, I think that whole thing,
Yeah.
because when you were just reading it, I can't even
There's
follow.
too many,
Follow
there's too many
There's
thoughts.
too many commas.
Yeah.
all right, so the semicolon becomes a period,
Right.
across the and,
Right,
a capitalized A.
right, a post and a show.
Yes,
And you may want to put a posted notice also, or some other way that makes it clear it's a step.
She'll
It's not an either or, it's an and step.
She'll figure it out.
Yeah.
She's written in the column here, clarify this.
I have a 21st century question.
no, we cannot.
Okay, never mind.
No, I know, Mike, it should all be done electronically, but we can't yet. The state is slowly working those public notices
Can we
out
put,
of
the
statute.
public notice somehow on the town's website in PDF?
That nobody ever looks at.
We are required to do it.
Everyone. No, we're not required to.
No, I mean, what you were getting at, we're
Yeah, what I'm
required by
getting at,
state
we're
law,
required
putting it
by
in a
state law to
newspaper.
Put it either in a newspaper or posted in 2 places in town, or that's specified in the.
No, I understand that.
So,
What I'm saying is, do we
yes,
want to take the extra step?
we do. We post it on the town.
I'm saying, do
website.
we want to say that?
No,
No, okay.
no, not yet.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Not yet.
That's fine.
Whatever extra we do is okay. I just don't want to get caught short
I appreciate it.
Right, the extra
by
is
missing
extra.
something.
Right.
The
Yeah.
extra is extra.
Okay.
And I think, quite frankly, the extra that we're doing is
Right.
being read more than.
Oh,
Sure.
that's why I made the comment. I mean, in today's world.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we,
Someday it will be different in
Yeah.
the statute, and then it will be.
So we'll be dead, so don't worry about it.
I'm older than this. But that's true. I mean, you know, it is,
New Hampshire.
it
no
is true.
hurry.
Right.
I mean, you know, every, no 7-year-old would ever look at anything in the paper.
Okay,
So, getting back,
she's written in the column, clarify that this step is the completeness review, acceptance of the application. I agree to that, because it does get confusing to the developer. The acceptance of the application and the approval of the application gets a little confusing to the developer sometimes.
That gets back to this whole thing being rewritten.
Yeah.
This paragraph.
And on the next page, page 11, section E, the application plan requirements, under 1. The application plan may be drawn in pencil and shall be submitted in the following formats. 1, 22 by 34 paper print copy. She's saying, why just 1?
Oh.
I go back to
To
2
two.
and be consistent.
And it also calls for a PDF, so. All right.
Yeah, wait. But should, in today's world, should not the PDF file be required?
It is required.
No, that's not the way I read this.
we require it in the earlier.
The application
Yeah,
being
word
done and
may.
submitted in the, maybe, so she's saying, is it any one of these, any 2 of these, any 3 of these? So if you only have to put in 1 of these, they could do 1 11 by 17 paper copy. So what I'm saying is, do we want to specify I'm think what she's saying is, the way this is written, you could do any one of the four. That's the way I read it. I'm not.
I agree.
I wasn't-
Let's tell them exactly
I'm not
what
an
they're gonna
English
do,
major.
no ambiguity. I like the
I read it as
consistency
all
of
four were
two.
required.
I read it as,
Size and a PDF.
they're saying it may be drawn in pencil.
That's not what it says.
It says may be drawn in pencil, but it says then it shall be submitted
in the
in the following format.
So I think it's all,
All,
that's
that's
how I
all.
took it as all.
That's the way I read it.
I don't, if it's all, I don't have a problem.
It's, the option is pencil
All
as opposed to ink.
If you want, it's as simple, shall be submitted in all the following forms.
I don't have a problem with that either.
Yeah, because you couldn't submit it just on 11 by 17 paper copy. That would be inadequate. So I think it's required.
I just put a check mark and I wrote in all and put a check mark.
But we wanna change the two,
I think,
the 22 by 34 is that's the
That's the
plan
plan
size.
size.
And we're also asking for one 11 by 17.
but 11 by 17 can be reproduced easily.
I don't think that the 11 by 17 is necessary. I think for consistency, go with 2 plan copies and a PDF.
In PDF, right, 'cause that's what we said,
That's what you
I was
said
getting.
prior.
Right.
So let's just stay with that, and then we can produce the 11 by 17
Okay.
if we need it.
Why isn't there a
To me,
reference?
We're getting too much paper into the office.
All right, I'm striking 3, which is 11 by 17 paper copy.
Yep.
And I'm writing 2 copies of the 22 by 34.
Yes.
Why is the reference to pencil drawing relevant?
Because like he said, it doesn't have to be an ink copy on the plan size.
Only in the final plat does it have to be ink.
It must be for in regards to changes, erase it easy enough.
Donald used to do onion skin over,
Mhm.
a
Oh.
plat, a subdivision
Yeah.
plat. Then he'd draw on it and,
Okay, still under application plan requirements, number 2, basic data. And this is where, right, name your municipality, the subdivision and so forth, the names and addresses of abutting owners. And she writes, include, it looks like signature of owners and appointment of agent, if any.
I think that that's very important because we often get questions about that. Like, who is submitting this?
Who,
And, remember that sometimes we get developments that occur on land of others or, especially for the commercial developments. It might not happen now with the resort.
I see no reason not to add that in.
Well, only a comment.
Doesn't hurt.
So add it to the,
That is good to
Okay.
know.
And under the same topic, application plan requirements, number 3, existing and proposed site conditions. She writes review last. I'm not sure what she means by, that's the second time I've seen that. Review, I think that's last.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
those could be a note to herself too, because not necessarily.
True.
Guys.
I'll just question mark, I don't know. Number, section E, no, section F has been scrubbed, and this is what came up during the review of the last site.
She doesn't like it.
Yeah, she doesn't like the phase idea, and we've gotten into trouble with this before.
Maybe she's telling us something, because we've gotten in trouble.
Well, she says you can't do it.
Yeah.
That once you've approved it, it goes, the final plat has to show all the lots in the subdivision, and has to be recorded, am I right?
I like it.
And
It's clear.
when Bill and I have been working on the subdivider improvement agreement, it was very easy to put in the subdivider improvement agreement what would be done first, and then future subdivider improvement agreements before anything else happened as far as the actual installation of the infrastructure. But the approval of the plan, she's saying, should all be done at once.
So, And before we strike this, I want to just, having been through it, what if developer comes in and says, I want to do this in 3 phases? What you're saying is, and everybody, I want you to follow this because it's important. What you're saying is that you tell them, you outline what your final subdivision is going to look like. And we will review the whole thing. And we will approve the whole thing, whether it's 10 lots or 50 lots or 2 lots. But we will approve the subdivision. You will give me a final plat in ink on a 24 by 36 or whatever it is. And it'll get recorded at the registry of deeds.
Yes.
And you'll be paying taxes on all those lots after
Well,
that.
that's the question that's outstanding to the assessor is, how does the tax valuation, does it change immediately upon recording of that plan?
Okay, that's up to the tax assessor. I can say other towns do it because I ran into that one time.
Well, and I've seen it.
I've absolutely seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, if you want to phase it, Mr. Developer.
Right.
We will write up a subcontractor agreement, SIA,
Yes,
and we will outline in that SIA what the phases will be and the timing involved with it and whether trees can be cleared for
Correct.
all of it. All this stuff is in the,
no, you can put that right on the plan. You can, or you can handle it in the subdivider improvement agreement if you want. But the clearing of the trees, that list that I just gave you, would be conditions that will be physically put on that plat map that gets recorded.
it's the basis for the for the SIA. It becomes the basis for the SIA.
Well, it's partially for that, but it's what conditions are you putting on it to approve this subdivision?
Okay. And that meets state law. All that
Yes,
is a conformance with state law.
yes.
Then I don't see any problem with scratching this.
We should do away with the confusion we've had over
It has been a confusing
Yeah.
There's a
issue.
lot of time.
Yeah, there was a lot of animosity.
But, you know, we've got to be very clear to the developer what the tax implication will be to
Yeah.
them, depending on what the assessor says.
Okay, when can we get that kind of decision?
Well, and I'm just waiting for the email back from.
Well, because
I mean, it should be, this is the.
Well,
way
that's
to
not
do it.
that's not a planning board issue anyway.
Well, but you need to be able to communicate to the developer what the ramification of doing this subdivision is gonna be.
Sure.
Because if the new valuation kicks in as soon as that plat gets recorded,
which it should.
which,
You would think.
well, the development potential of that land just went up.
And why is this being
A
kept
lot.
secret from the planning board?
Huh?
And why is this being kept secret from the planning board?
What do you mean?
I have no idea whether it's gonna be taxed that way or not. You just said it's up to the tax assessor.
Well, no, I sent an email to the assessor saying, when does the new value kick in? Does it kick in when we record the plat or as he installs?
So you haven't heard back from them?
I have not heard back from him.
How long has it
Or
been?
both.
Or both, it could be. a
I would say it's both.
So, we'll see. I don't know when he'll get back to me, but I expect it'll be before the end of the week.
Should that be put in the regulations?
Um,
I'd say yes.
Why don't we ask Tara on that?
Yeah.
yeah,
I
we'll
don't
ask
want
her.
to mix and match tax.
Yeah, I don't
and-
know that you want to pin the assessor down to something,
Right.
because some assessor may argue
Well, yeah,
that
but
it's another way.
you're asking us to tell the developer something that's an iffy thing?
I think it's assessor to assessor. I think it's town to town. We've got to ask Tara what language she uses in other
Yeah, but
communities.
what Terry's saying is very important. Theoretically, the 3 lots as they stand today
Yes,
are for sale.
yes,
They're listed in MLS, all right,
yes.
That's 3 lots.
as 3
That's
lots.
3 lines.
When they are subdivided,
Yes,
all right, the value of those lots is going to go up,
correct.
all right? And theoretically, not that theory, because the value of the lots went up, the real estate cost is going to go up. Now, any good developer knows that.
Oh, I understand that, but until the infrastructure has been put in, they can't be used as individual lots. So the valuation, when the valuation changes is the question. Yes, the potential is there for additional value, okay? But until the water and sewer services get put in and electrical and all of that stuff, does the real value to somebody buying that land change? Because nobody has put any money into it.
I think because
You
of,
know what I mean?
because of the situation that the planning board has to go to somebody to find out what the answer to that question is, I would prefer that the planning board tell the developer, go to
Yeah.
them directly.
Well, you
Sure.
check with the town, that's not.
Yeah,
Okay.
check with tax assessor
The-
rather than
tax
take the burden
ramifications.
on.
You were a developer, all right? I had lots of clients that were developers.
Mhm.
And, I know whenever we went and we took a 10-acre parcel and we're dividing it into 8, 9, 10, whatever number of lots, that valuation of that land went up by definition.
Minus what the cost of the infrastructure is gonna be.
Yeah, but that would be true when it was one lot. So
It was my experience that as soon as that plat plan got recorded, no longer were you being taxed as one lot, you were being taxed as 10 lots.
right, that was my client's experience also, and that net value went up.
Well,
That was my client's
the
experience.
tax ramifications, the developer ought to go to the town.
Yeah.
Ahead of time, and figure that out.
Okay, so as far as
But I have
scratching,
I have a question. Can we tell because it's money from town, can we tell the assessor that they should revalue? Is that something we can do?
I don't think that's the planning board's.
The selectmen are the assessors, and they have an agent that determines valuation. You can recommend something, well, no, you can
Get
recommend
in line.
something to them, but you can't tell them they.
It's a long line.
Okay, so we're gonna scratch section F.
Okay. No more
And-
phase developments.
No more phases. Yay.
Okay, and section G is acceptance and rejection of completed application. The board shall accept or reject the completed application at the meeting at which it is submitted unless the board decides to defer such action. It may accept or reject the application at a later meeting without specific notice under paragraph C, only if the date, time, and place at which it will act are given at the submission meeting. And she writes in the column, within 30 days of the filing. So what she's saying is within 30 days of the filing of the application, notification has to be given, whether it's accepted or rejected.
That's
Fair
fair.
enough.
That's fair.
A reject within 30 days of filing a completed application.
And at the bottom, under the same article, which is pre-application phases. I'm sorry, Article 5, application for subdivision approval. She has DRI
Aye.
or J.
Or J.
Or J.
Or S, or D.
I think it's I.
I'll go with I.
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah,
Question mark. Unless somebody else has an idea of what it is. DRI. I don't know. All right, under the next section, Article 6, action on completed application. So this is after the application has been completed. Time for consideration. She scratched out within 30 days of the delivery of the completed application, the board shall begin deliberation and consideration of the application. I think what she did was she took this and put it up above in
I think
G,
you're right.
Within 30 days of the filing, yeah.
which
So
makes
move.
sense, puts to where they accepted. So does anybody have any objection to crossing those first two lines?
No.
Okay, And down below, section B, public hearing. When required, except as provided in paragraph A or B. And I think it's supposed to be 1 and 2, but I'm not sure. I'll agree with her question mark. We'd have to figure out what that was implying. I think it's below, maybe minor adjustments. I think it should refers probably to
Something just-
1 and 1, 2.
Something that just wasn't changed when
Yeah,
they
It didn't get
changed the
updated. I'll put
reclassification.
1.
And you may even want to say below. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it is below.
Yeah, because then it goes on to,
Yeah,
para
I think
one,
that's
para
what it
two.
is. Okay, and she's included here under the board may approve the following subdivisions. She's included voluntary mergers. This is good because there's no reference to voluntary mergers anywhere. And included and has had let's look at one at a time here. She has an arrow, and I think it refers to the A or B. We'll let her deal with that. The board may approve the following subdivisions without first holding a public hearing, provided the proper notice has been given and the board, applicant, and abutters have not requested a public hearing. So in all 3 of these cases, it states, and I'm including her that she had in here, that a public hearing is not required as long as the notice has been given that there's going to be an application. And she's included voluntary mergers, and I would say that's correct. I don't think we would require a public hearing for a voluntary merger. Also, she's included, which was already there, minor lot line adjustments or boundary agreements that do not create buildable lots. This is what you were talking about before.
Minor lot line adjustment all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So we needed, that's why the definition was important.
Yeah, because it
Yeah.
does say minor lot line
Yeah.
adjustment here. You're right.
Yeah.
So it does need a definition.
Yep.
But that is the definition of a lot line adjustment too. So I don't know, we're still in that box.
Yeah.
I don't know what she means by, I don't know the difference.
Between them.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
A minor lot line
Yeah.
adjustment, a lot line
What
adjustment.
I'll do is I'll circle minor.
Yeah, that's why now
Question mark
all of
on
a
it.
sudden it's important.
That's where I think she was
Yeah.
going with it, right?
And she has made the note under what was here before was minor subdivisions. In other words, if you have a subdivision that's of 3 lots or less, and it's not gonna make a buildable lot, that there's not a public hearing required. And she's saying, are you sure? And this came up too, because when we had when Bill was in here on the latest subdivision, he said, look, I had the option, because he's talking about subdividing the 12, and we talk about phasing and so forth. And he says, well, by the way, I had the option of making this, just going separate subdivisions and making a 3-lot subdivision. It would be a minor subdivision. I don't require a public hearing.
Right.
Do we want to do we want to make the public hearing for a 3-lot subdivision not require a public hearing?
And that's her question, right? I mean, is that what she was getting
That's what
at?
she's saying. Are you sure you
Yeah, I'd
want
like
to
to
do that?
hear her give the,
I can ask her to elaborate.
yeah,
She may have some history or some
Right.
knowledge that,
you do not want to go down this road
yeah.
of not having a public hearing on a quote unquote minor subdivision that
All
may
right,
be
so I'll
seen
put
as not
please
minor by
elaborate.
others, right?
But before we do that, let's think about our town. And in our town, would not people expect if there was going to be a subdivision? Would our town not expect to have a public hearing?
I think an abutter would be surprised.
Yeah, me too.
Well,
That's maybe,
for 2 lots or for 3 lots or more, or
Right.
what are you talking about?
Right.
So I have a 1.08 acre parcel of land. And I want to subdivide it into 2 lots. I have to have a public hearing for that?
Yeah.
That's,
At
What's
this,
really-
at this point in time, no, but
right.
the question is, should we? Yeah.
Right.
And I think Mike's question was, do the people in town expect that there would be? And I would say, yes, I think they do expect. it.
I would say they would.
Whether, I'm not necessarily saying it should be. I'm saying I think that people think that it will.
So the differentiation between a minor and a regular subdivision becomes in the submission of the materials,
Correct.
but you're always gonna hold a public hearing. That might simplify the regulations.
Well, I think
If
that's
we
why
take
I'd like
this
her
out.
to elaborate on it.
Yeah.
There may be a reason
Right.
that we weren't aware of.
Okay.
And I'm on page 14, under notification.
There's engineers.
There's
again,
engineers again, yeah.
And the conservation
Conservation.
easement holders.
And I think I'm gonna do the same thing, question mark on the engineers,
What is the,
and okay.
could it be the engineers that put together the plan?
No, because they would have everything.
We don't have to notice them, right?
I don't think you wanna separate
Again,
these,
It's like a staff notification. I don't understand what their interest in being notified is.
I think
They're
you,
working for either the developer.
yeah, I don't think you,
Right.
I don't think you
Right,
wanna
but
get in
you
between the
notify
developer and the
them.
engineer.
Okay, I guess we just have to ask.
Okay, under action on completed application, this is Article 6. So this is after the completed application has been submitted, and we're talking about the action the board must take. Under 3, conduct of hearing and deliberation. And so it talks about the conduct of the hearing, and she's crossed out paragraph 1. I'll read it. The board shall identify those aspects of the subdivision that require modification or which the board would like to see changed prior to final approval. Except when acting under expedited review procedure, the board shall identify those aspects of the submission plan and the materials which require alteration. And the applicant shall submit a final plan and materials meeting these requirements and the requirements of Article 6E, and the final plan shall then be considered under Section E. She doesn't want that.
I think, again, does it turn on require? Does she want to keep our options open?
Well, maybe she's saying because this
Can
is,
we continue
this
the
is the
hearing?
public hearing, yeah.
Right.
It's not that you can't do that in the deliberation section, but you can't do it in the public hearing because it must, I don't know why. Board shall identify those aspects.
Well, yeah, you're supposed to just take input during the.
During the public hearing.
Right.
Your deliberations are when you decide what needs to be modified.
So she must have a reason for doing that.
Yeah, because you're not supposed, you
We're not
guys
supposed to
are not
require.
supposed to comment during the public hearing portion. You're supposed to be listening to what's being presented to you. Then you stop the public hearing portion and you deliberate. And that's when you come up with what you want to have changed. But there's not, I mean, and we haven't done it this way, but I think that's what she's trying to get to.
Where we should be
You're
listening.
supposed to be listening
Right.
during the public hearing portion,
Well,
right? I mean,
No.
that's, or is that,
deliberations, closing the public hearing and voting procedures. Deliberations. The planning board now begins its final deliberations. Normally, during the deliberations, no additional public comment is allowed.
Right.
This is the board members' opportunity to discuss among themselves merits of the plan before them. The chairman may, at the board's discretion, clarify questions the board had during the deliberations by asking questions of the general public present at the meeting. During deliberations, amendments may be made in the motions. Then it goes to closing the public hearing. When the chairman feels that deliberations are complete, he or she will declare the public hearing closed. So the public hearing stays open during the
oh
deliberation.
yeah, you stop taking public input.
Yeah, generally.
And then.
You still
guys
can.
start yeah, you still can.
Yeah.
But you're generally, when you're deliberating is when you're coming up with, this needs to be changed, this needs to be done this way.
Okay, but this paragraph comes under the conduct of hearing and deliberation. So why
Well, I
would,
think that's why she Xed it out, was you don't identify those things that need to be changed during the public hearing. You're just taking input.
That makes
Maybe
sense.
what she's trying to to drive you to? Did she put it back in under deliberation?
No, just cross it, didn't say move it to or anything like
This may
that.
be under deliberation too, because it's conduct of hearing / deliberation.
Yeah.
Deliberation is part of the public hearing.
Yeah,
Well,
but you're also deliberating afterwards as well.
right.
But I'm saying, I guess the question I'm having, the disconnect I'm having, is as you read that, the public hearing is kind of in two pieces. There's part one, when the general public can ask questions, make comments, and do whatever else they so choose. And then there's part two, which is the planning board deliberations, at which time the chairperson can ask whatever questions you want of the public. But all of that is part of the public hearing.
Yes.
So, which doesn't make, well, I guess it does make sense, but I think,
I mean, seems to be such a basic function that we need to ask her, why is she taking it out?
I would like to know why.
Yeah.
Because then she has Karens around subsection 2 as well, and then she says subsection 3, spell out.
So I'm gonna ask why.
That whole thing under conduct of hearing and deliberation, she wants to obviously make significant changes to. Let me just ask.
Terry, does your rules of procedure state what the public hearing should look like?
Yes.
And I think maybe you go back to that and
Right.
try to describe what is happening there.
Right.
Yeah, it does a pretty good job with it. You know, it's
But
supposed to
it's not,
give.
it. Maybe we need to have it.
Yeah, but, well, no, it needs to be in there. I'm saying use the rules of procedure
That
as the
already exists.
layout.
Should I write that on here for Tara, you mean? And you're,
Yeah, I think maybe what she's looking for is how do you describe what the rules of procedure say for the conduct of the hearing?
Is this other book, the state statute?
I don't think that the conduct of the hearing is laid out in the statute.
Your second binder here,
what about,
is it state statute?
this is secret.
No,
No, this is the rules and procedures that, for public hearings that, I don't know where they derive from.
Well, I think NHMA as a template.
is it,
I want a PDF.
no, is that binder official or is it suggestive?
Did you guys adopt the rules of procedure
Yeah.
that are in there?
Not that I can recall. May have happened many years ago,
But is that not, since you're looking at it, and it seemed to be very good and informative, at least that paragraph that you just read.
this was given to special people early on.
No, I understand that you're special.
But it must have been.
You are special. You are special. But what I'm saying is, what you just read
Distant past.
is really good and important.
It's very informative and it's been given to the chairmans.
It's a template
Yeah,
from the municipal association.
I understand. What I'm saying is what Terry just read,
Yes,
all right?
Mhm.
As far as how this would be conducted is really good.
Mhm.
All right?
Yeah.
And either cut and paste what you just read into here, or we should read that and adopt it.
I think a previous planning board has adopted it at some point.
yeah, it's been around for a long time.
Yeah, those
It's
are
been
our
around for.
rules of procedure.
Right.
Yeah.
But you guys should review that annually, biannually, something.
More than once every 20
More
years.
than once every 20 years.
Revised December 9th,
Add it to the list
2010.
of.
Yeah, so it's been 9 years, so,
No worry.
so I think,
Add that to the list of
good idea.
fundamental documents that need to be
Well, every other board,
reviewed.
Conservation Commission's doing the same thing, they're going
Right.
through their rules of procedure.
That's right.
Actually, the latest one was revised in 2017.
Yeah, there you go.
I do remember something.
I don't.
Okay. What
We
is
did it without your.
They must have, I must have been away.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
What's
It doesn't say adopted anywhere, it just says it's been revised.
What's the name of this document?
This is
Yeah, it's a secret.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's a secret. Yeah.
Town of Waterville Valley Planning Board Rules and Procedures.
That's
It's
important.
gotta be an official document. Adopted by the board.
Sure.
At some point in time.
What date in 2017?
The latest is 2017. That's, wait a minute,
We may have made a change, a small change.
It's on the dark web.
revised August 10th,
August 10th, 2017.
2017.
We'll get your minutes and see if you adopt.
Well, presumably we made a change in August. I mean, we made some revision
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah, I'm not
We
sure
agreed to
I don't remember doing it, but might have been just updated, I don't know.
Another document we should probably,
Yeah, look at it.
well, you don't even have it, it's just, it should be revised. I mean,
Yeah.
re-looked at to see if there are any further revisions.
Our plate is pretty full right now.
Well, if we're looking for something for Tara for next year, for example, that would be a major document potentially. she
Yeah.
Just to know where to find
Go
it.
through,
Yeah, it seems to work pretty well now anyway, so I don't see any reason to
play with it.
not to jump in
On
the
a
middle of it.
general-
No, I'm not arguing.
Would it be on a New Hampshire state website?
No.
Those are ours.
Those
We-
belong to us.
Yeah.
So Put it on our website.
The cover page said Waterville Valley.
No,
Our
it's not
website.
going on the website. Guys, we can't add every single thing to the website. People are getting lost in our website because we keep
Yeah.
adding stuff to it. That's for you guys.
Right.
We need to put it on your thumb drive so that you have it.
Right, any new planning board member should have a list of documents available to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either you do it via a portal on the website, or for just certain people, or a thumb drive you give them.
Agreed.
This whole section here, 3, where the paragraphs are crossed out and so forth, I'm gonna ask for her to elaborate into why are we doing this and so forth. I think there's just too much to make a decision on without her here.
Mhm.
With some sort of input as what her experiences are, why she's doing it. So moving on to page 15, under action on completed application, the final plat. This is number 4. The final plat shall contain all information required on a submission plan and/or be accompanied by the following information. And she's got both final plat and submission plan circled and connected with a line, as if to say the final plan is the submission
That's how I
plan.
read it. And then you give all the,
Except for the fact that the submission plan can be done in pencil. And the final plat has to be done in ink. And the final plat has to be a particular size for recordation or recording.
is that the, okay, it's got accompanied by the following information, is it in here anywhere? I don't see it, but you're talking about in here.
Well, the submission plan was described earlier on. And this, in the application requirements, the application may be drawn in pencil. This is on section E,
Mhm.
under 5, article 5. And submitted to the following formats. Now, one of the problems is, and this is where it got confusing when we were doing the phasing. I don't think it really ever describes a submission plan. I mean, it describes what a submission plan, but doesn't say this is a submission plan. And so then when you get back to here, I can understand her question. She's saying, what is the submission plan? Isn't that the same as the plat plan? So perhaps that ought to be addressed either in definitions
Mhm.
or during this process when it describes what the application plan requirements are, somewhere say, this is the submission plan. So I'm gonna write back here in section E, submission plan, in quotes. Correct me if I'm not right.
It's almost like we're saying the final plat is the final plan.
Right. And I think, and then up here where she's saying it is, I'm gonna say, can't submission plan be in pencil and, yeah. Oh, I'm getting her back. She's not gonna be able to read my writing here at all.
Well, she can hear all of these comments.
Okay. Flat plan in ink.
Yeah, it's almost like when does the submission plan become the final plan?
Yeah, because I
So
think
how does it-
during the deliberation process, we were telling the developer, you gotta change this, you gotta change that, and he can do it in pencil and mark it up and all that. But when he comes in and final and said, okay, I want you to accept this and you have to sign it,
Mhm.
it has to be an ink Mylar that has to go to the registry. Soils report. She's written that under the,
I guess that's what she wants to put it, maybe?
right, action on completed application. And she's saying not only do you have to submit a final plat, but don't you have to submit a soils report at this time? I would say soils report if required. I mean, if you're dealing with septic systems, I would think you need a soils report. If you're not, I don't know if you really do.
Wouldn't the soils report include the wetlands?
Is that soils report?
I don't know.
You would think so.
She's have, on the other side, she has, well, that's probably to the next paragraph, sorry. She has more.
I'm just gonna put a question mark. I don't know for sure what's meant by that. Stations, radii, curve data, and paving widths for proposed streets. And she's saying there might be more information.
Is that a more or a none?
Could be a none. See, I'm a positive guy, you're a negative guy.
No, I agree, I just didn't know whether it's a more or not.
Rich, you're gonna get punched in the shoulder.
I agree,
Yes. Well, that's,
Well, maybe she's talking about road sections. Doesn't say anything about sections here. Stations, radii, curve
there could
data.
be more put in here, is how I read that.
Okay,
like,
We can ask her. We can ask her what she had in mind.
okay,
She's the expert.
all right, okay, what else? Road utility documents. This is where the town acknowledges that there aren't gonna be, or that the town can provide whatever utilities and so forth is required. And she writes, these
Can be.
can be
Part
part
of conditional
of a
approval.
conditional approval. Okay. I don't have any problem with that. 16,
We'll have to talk to her.
I want, yeah, we should,
She's got
let's
lines.
talk.
Fix. Fix. It doesn't sound good for us. All she wrote was fix. Sounds like it's all bad.
17,
Didn't like that paragraph at all.
section D. What are we under at this point?
Moving right along.
Exemptions and waivers.
Still under action on completed application, I guess.
30, she wants to change 15 to 30 days, I guess.
Yeah.
That's just being consistent.
It might also be state law or something. Yeah, these are little technical things. I have no idea, so they might as well, if that's what she's saying, it's fine.
In other words, if the planning board doesn't take action, the select board will take, within these timeframes, the select board can take action.
Boundary line adjustment, exemption and waivers. She's crossed out exemption from review and written boundary line adjustment.
Which we don't know what she meant by, so.
Yeah. We need more on that.
Maybe that's what she considers what we're talking about here, a boundary line adjustment.
Yeah, these are things that she knows a lot about, and, you know, we're just gonna ask her, what do you think?
I hate to ask this question. What's the difference between a boundary line adjustment and a minor lot
Well,
line
we don't
adjustment?
know because all she wrote was boundary line agreement.
Yeah, I just, you know, that's a dumb question.
We don't know.
Okay, under section C, she's just making it consistent, okay. She's written the word safety here,
Where are you?
I'm on page 19.
Oh.
2, street design.
Okay.
Yeah, the other, on page 18, there's so much there that we're just gonna have to ask her,
Yep.
her
Agreed.
advice on it anyway, so. Safety, this is all access ways, this is the access ways that were referred to before, I imagine. Access ways, street and utility standards. She's into the safety thing, that's fine. I would not be the one that says we don't wanna have any of the safety because you'd be tolerated. Ask fire chief, this is US mail,
There's a small,
oh, small.
this is something small, more typical. 110/80.
Blood pressure.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Question mark.
This is very small, I think that's what she means. More typical is 110/80, we have 60/50. That's fire chief, yeah, I think that's very small. I think
I want to go back to, the 3 I's. Where it says dead-end streets shall be avoided if possible. Now, is a driveway ours, or the ones with the built Cantlin stock? No.
I don't see them as streets.
Go back to the definition of a way.
That's what I have to
whatever.
talk to her about, why she
Yeah.
took that all out.
Because I mean, we're not responsible for plowing them or anything else, I suppose.
But again, these are instructions or requirements for developers when they're putting in new roads, right?
Yeah.
So permanent dead-end streets shall be avoided. She wants to take out if possible.
It's, but you see,
I imagine
those
shall terminate and if
those 2 driveways, or whatever you want to call them, that are being put in are dead ends.
shall be avoided, and in any event shall terminate in a turnaround. But right now, whatever he's got, whatever he's applied has to fit this. Because these are the current.
What I'm saying, Rich, is that those,
You know, I know what you're saying, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, right now is a permanent dead end, so shall be avoided if possible. That's the current.
I'm gonna keep reading.
Right.
And if any event shall terminate in a turnaround
Right.
60 feet
In
in
diameter.
diameter.
With a paved area 50 feet.
Yeah, I mean, his diagrams would not have that, did not
Yeah,
have
but
that.
his diagram has it as driveway.
Yeah, it's a driveway, it's on the street.
Is a
No.
driveway, is,
By definition, it's different.
It's
Not a road.
It's not-
so it does not have a name.
That's,
It's a private drive.
it's a private driveway. That's correct.
Right, does not have a name.
That's,
Well, you can give it a name. It can be a private drive and have a name. There's Birch Lane and there's Sylvan Lane, and those are private drives and they have names on the street signs.
you're not supposed to. but Yes, you're right.
It's difficult, I mean, she may be right about the size of these, but this is pretty steep terrain in some of these areas, and it's pretty difficult to get a turnaround that big in diameter in some of these
It's
areas.
huge.
Yeah,
And remember, Chris said that he had looked at it, just in terms of
Yeah.
that. In terms of where they put the fire hydrant and the ability to,
Turn around everything else.
in that area.
it's been that way for years with the small ones. It hasn't
You know, way it
been an issue. I mean, I'm sure it's inconvenient, but I don't know if I changed the standard at this
Oh,
point.
we have
could talk to Chris, find out.
No, you look at a lot of roads here, you can't get that big fire, that ladder truck can't turn.
It's beyond the ladder truck.
Right.
It goes
Oh, okay.
to when decisions are made by town meeting to accept these as town
Right,
maintained.
right,
That's when they become the real issue.
right,
He can always back a fire truck out.
out, right,
You know, if he can get it in there,
he can get it,
he can get it out.
Right.
It may take him an hour, but he can get it out.
right,
The problem becomes the maintenance,
right.
and that's where we're gonna get. we're gonna have problems in the future
Right,
because of all these dead end streets.
that we've agreed, or the town meeting
Town meeting is
Agreed.
agreeing,
to turn these into
that's right,
town-maintained
it's killing us.
ways,
It's
whatever
going
they
to
are.
kill us more in the future.
Yeah.
Because the pressure is rising to take more of them on.
Right,
And it's expensive,
right,
expensive to redo,
It's
expensive.
very
to work out.
expensive, but no one wants to pay for it.
right.
They take them over as public roads, but then don't give the town
The money,
Any
well. what do you say?
resources to
Right.
take care of them properly.
Yeah, and high country's
That's
better,
the issue.
high country's
High
better.
country's coming.
High country's coming, because that road has to be redone.
And the bottom line is the selectmen can't do anything about it if town meeting votes to do that.
Well, then it would be up to the selectmen, I suppose, to indicate that this would be an increased burden and an increased
not-
tax burden for
and not
all
recommend.
residents. And that's all you could do, let people vote, right?
Right, and not recommend.
With all that in mind.
Yeah.
Do
The
we
other
want
thing-
to,
right.
do we want to change this requirement from 60 feet?
Well, I remember Chris saying too, that one of the benefits of a ladder truck is that he can reach way over, so.
Mhm.
I'm not sure, well, let's ask the fire chief, why we don't have the typical 110/80. We can ask Chris, right? Is that,
Sure.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, then
Yeah.
we'll look into this.
because we do say this requirement may be varied within limits by local, state, or federal. So we get a lot of outs here, we got if possible, maybe varied. She doesn't like those.
Okay, now,
Safety.
under Article 5, or not Article 5, but under 2.5. The plan of proposed subdivision shall show work required to connect and complete to improvements, and she's written, they need to actually be in line, or at least,
By reference.
By reference.
oh, in here, or at least
Or
by
at least.
reference, fine.
So the standards and specifications need to be either referenced or be in,
Correct,
Yeah.
in this document, in this paragraph.
makes sense.
Yeah, so we would. agree
Be in
with that.
here, yeah,
We would
That's
agree with that.
they need to be actually being here, or at least referenced to some.
Probably
Reference.
better to reference it,
Yeah,
because
well,
that
yeah.
way it keeps up with the updated ones.
And keeps the size down.
Okay, on page 20, table 1, she's asking for two things. This is a table of how the streets are identified, collector, arterial, and so forth. She's got number VPD, something department, something police department maybe? I don't know.
Valley Police Department, why would
Uh,
you put WV?
I'm gonna question that, put a question, see if we can get what that is. And down below it, she says, define internal road. So there must not be a definition for it.
Devereaux Way, where I live,
Yeah,
because I measured it out of curiosity, is 20 feet.
So it fits this table.
Well, so
As an
that
internal
it
road.
becomes an internal road. So which raises the question of, is that internal road, is that, can we say, except we only own half of it, but can we say we would like our Devereaux Way to be a town road? I don't know why we would, since all of a sudden
No,
that
exactly.
raises all kinds of.
That's what she's asking by internal road, do we mean these roads that are not town roads? But that are internal to say condominiums, I think that's how I would look at it. And they have to have a minimum pavement, so forth. But there's no definition anywhere of what an internal road
I'm
is.
saying put in a definition in the definitions.
Yeah,
for internal
yeah.
road.
yeah, I think that's all it is, number of EPD, number of roads? Number of each? No, that doesn't make sense.
That would mean, however, that the 20-foot road could be a town road, as I read this. Because the first sentence says, and the classification of town streets.
Anything at town
You
meeting?
know, the town highway regulations limit it to, I believe, a 22-foot area. Which
Minimum
is,
pavement.
no, 20,
We've got arterial 24 and a collective 22.
yeah, 22-foot paved area is the minimum for a town-maintained road. 11-foot traveled ways. And then 2 feet for each of the ditches. So you have to have a total of 26 feet in your right-of-way to be a town road. Right, which is 22 feet pavement, 2 feet on either side for ditches.
But a town
That's
meeting
the
can,
But town
meeting can,
town meeting can
Override
say anything will be town maintained.
Right.
They can decide that anything. It's what gets laid out by the selectmen from the beginning as a town road. That's the difference.
Right.
So if a subdivider comes in and doesn't ever want anything in the subdivision to be private, he wants it
he'll
all
build it
to
to
be,
town
then he's
specification.
gotta do it to town specifications. He's gotta put the right of way in at the proper width and,
Right.
and all, and he's gotta build it to certain specifications.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that the
That
town
doesn't
necessarily,
mean that
unless we
town-
agree
that
that it's just a
town
workshop.
meeting
But it can be in the future.
in the future say that something else gets accepted, but if he wants to do it from the beginning,
That would
from day one,
improve the odds, so to speak.
well, no, the layout of a town road,
Mm-hmm.
okay, is a function of the select by
Mhm.
statute. So if a subdivision is approved by the planning board and it has the roads in it
Mhm.
built to a certain standard and the
Mhm.
right of way being a certain, then the selectmen, without any action by town meeting, can say, we lay out this road. And in some towns, you can't do a subdivision unless every lot is on a town-maintained road,
I see.
okay? So,
Obviously not ours.
right?
Right.
So, and you gotta have certain frontage in other towns on that road in order to be a legal lot, okay? What Bill has done in the past is he's built all of these to substandards because he wants to maximize the amount of land for sale. So he puts in a narrower right-of-way, calls them a private road, privately maintained, that's what he did on
Us.
Devereaux Way, okay?
Mhm.
And that's fine, we allow that in our, right, but the selectmen can't lay that out as a town-maintained road, has to go to town meeting,
Because it doesn't meet.
because it doesn't meet the minimum
specifications.
specification.
All right, that's a discussion for another time.
No, I know, but they were asking
I know.
what the definition.
Yeah, that's good, it's just,
Okay,
gotta move on.
thank you.
Street improvements.
Should we call that, instead of an internal road, a private road?
Let's talk to Ted.
I don't,
Talk to-
Okay.
I think internal road is kind of a standard term.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Street improvements, number 4, maximum grade of shoulders shall be 1.3 feet. Is that supposed to be 1 to 3, or it can't be 1 to 3? That's a pretty steep shoulder,
Or, Jim actually gave me,
13%.
yeah, he gave me a percentage.
Maximum grade of shoulder shall be.
It's a misprint,
Yeah,
That's what she
I just don't know what the true figure should be.
because 1 to 3 would,
Oh, yeah,
No, it would be, yeah, no, it's not one
Yeah.
to three, it's a percentage.
it's like 13%
I
probably,
think he said 13.
because even that's pretty steep.
Yeah.
yes.
That's very
It is.
steep.
But we should, can we, get-
I'll find Jim's note
Yeah, we got some pretty
and
steep
share it
shoulders.
with you.
yeah, all right. I'll just put Mark will.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what-
Yeah, I agree, we agree with the question.
Okay. And then over on page 21, and we're still under standards for approval.
I hate to ask this question, but I put a question mark here. What is high pedestrian traffic? in Waterville
I
Valley.
don't know, but I know it when I see it.
Where are you seeing that, Mike?
When, keep on, the border or designee may require a greater width of paving and shoulders or arteries and collector streets in areas of high pedestrian traffic. The borders may require a greater width of right-of-way, blah, 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 blah. I just don't know what that means. We have people, including you, that walk in front of us all the time. Are we a high pedestrian?
That's high quality.
That's the guy beside you.
That's high quality pedestrian, right? High quality pedestrian.
I'm just asking.
Low quality pedestrian traffic, we don't care
I
about that.
hate words that are there that have no
Well-
definition and no one knows what it means.
Well, we can,
I'm just,
We
you
can
know what I'm saying?
That may be sort of one of those common sense sort of definitions.
I would just, I'm not recommending which ones to link it to, but I'd link it to the zones
Mhm.
or some other identifiable
Standard or.
Standard,
or what we
you know,
mean by it.
area bounded by these roads or everything in the commercial one zoning district or adjacent to commercial zoning districts, whatever, however you want to say it. But I would link it to something you already have.
And the second item is, I thought we were trying to get rid of curb stones. Huh?
Well,
I'm not saying we destroy what's there, but,
But we say here that may require a greater width of right of way and paving together with curbs and sidewalks.
yeah,
And you're saying the master, the plan is to get rid of all curbs
so we should,
and sidewalks.
yeah.
we would like,
So do we want to even put
from a
that,
staff standpoint, we would like to. I don't know if the town wants to.
well, we
That's
have
up
the
to you
option,
guys.
we have the option right now,
Yeah, we
as
don't-
far as new things. Not that there would be any, but I don't have a problem necessarily with sidewalks, but we're trying to get rid of the whole curbs.
there may
Make sure you get-
arise situations when we do want a curb though. And this allows us to require it if that's the case. Doesn't mean it has to be there.
That's true,
Perhaps in a commercial.
maybe.
Just as soon as we
I'm
eliminate
just
it.
asking, as soon as we eliminate
As
it,
soon
we
as we
get.
really, you're gonna want it.
I mean, just,
It says
I
may require.
had just kind of, when I read it, I said, but, okay,
May require.
Now,
that's fine.
what was the final conclusion on a high pedestrian traffic? Are we leaving it? Is this something we want to look into
Let's
further
link it to zones.
Link it to zones or link it
That
to.
seems like a
something
good
else.
idea.
and take it out of
No,
here?
Richie equated it to pornography.
Of course.
He knows it when he sees it.
And take it out of here?
Although nowadays,
I'm still not clear on how this is being handled. Are we taking it out of here?
I didn't know, the only reason I asked the question is I didn't know what it meant.
no, I think we wanted to explore it more, leave it in for now
Mm.
and.
It's poorly defined.
And just note that there's
I'm
an
gonna make
idea
it,
to
okay.
link
Note
it to
that we need to look at
C1 and
this,
VC or something.
What can we link this to better define what
Yeah,
high pedestrian traffic is by
needs,
zone?
needs discussion. Thank you, John.
Goodbye. Sorry.
Okay. Add construction specific, I'm on page 21 now, still under standards. I'm not sure under which this is falling. She's written,
Street improvements.
okay, add construction specifications, covenants,
Rate private maintenance.
private maintenance.
So she wants to add something about,
We don't have a real good construction specification. I think it's like 1 page, isn't it? And at one time, Jim was going to be elaborating on that, working on that. Has there been anything done at all? Is there anything planned to be done with that? Because it is very difficult. This comes up when if they talk about streets, the developer talks about streets. We don't really have anything much that we can show them.
That's right. We have added 2 pictures to the highway regulations, but again, they're kind of general. There's not a lot of specificity to types of materials that are being used used and that sort of thing.
What would it take to get something like that done?
I think we can do it. My problem is because of the way we've done inspections, getting it built to those standards is more of an issue. It's fine to have all these, we could have 5 pages of requirements, but if we don't have someone standing there, and doing soil compaction tests and screening material that's being put in, what good are the 5 pages of regulations? And that's where we've fallen short.
But one could say also that if you don't have the 5 pages of regulations, how do you expect anybody to do any inspection and to build to that standard? Even if they
No,
don't,
I
at
agree.
least there's gotta be a standard there to try to build to, right?
Right, and we do have some standards in our regulations, but they are pretty generic at this point.
These are basically for internal roads. is what we're
Then I would
talking
say,
about. Private roads.
I would say with regard to this comment,
Town roads is
Okay.
private roads, we're very hands-off.
But that's what the question is here, private roads.
I don't think this is the place to put those specifications. I think this is a place to refer to the specifications.
We have highway regulations, that's what we should be referring to.
I'm gonna, note to her, because it looks like she wanted to add the construction specifications in here. I'm gonna say, refer to them,
Refer to them, yes, I agree, because then we can.
because they can
modify them.
change, yeah.
That's right.
When a subdivision requires expenditures to improve on-site, off-site existing to conform to minimum requirements, blah, 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 blah.
She wants to add construction specifications, covenants regarding private maintenance.
Okay,
It's missing completely from here, is what I get from her, that it talks about what's classified as a street.
But it's a private street.
well, again, I think that, again, refer to the specs and covenants, I think would be what it is.
Well, so you're requiring that private roads be built to the same standards, whatever they are, of town roads.
No, she's just saying we should add something, add whatever construction specifications or covenants regarding private maintenance. I don't think she's saying necessarily it has to be state standard. I don't think, we'll have to ask.
This is all under streets, not under private driveways.
Street improvements.
Yeah.
But then she talks about private maintenance, right?
Right,
Well,
which is RE private maintenance. Use us as the
Yeah,
example.
Devereaux Way,
Use Devereaux Way as the example.
right.
All right, can the town say that Devereaux Way must be maintained however we decide?
Well, first, can it be it has to be constructed to certain specifications, even though it's not a town street.
Because that's
That's what she's asking.
that's kind of in here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, internal roads, right.
Terry, what do you think she's,
well, I'm
You
just,
asked her, yeah.
there are certain towns, and it doesn't happen here in Waterville Valley, but there are certain towns where you put in this town puts in a street and a sidewalk, and the owner that the sidewalk goes in front of is responsible for its maintenance. That
Yeah.
doesn't happen here.
A lot of places.
But are there situations up here that are similar, I wonder, as far as maybe lawn maintenance or, I can't think of any particular situation where a public street would require maintenance from a private individual. But yet she's put this under
Streets,
streets, which is a public accepted
I see.
street.
Private maintenance of a public street.
Covenant read private maintenance.
We don't have that.
well, we don't have it right now, but will
we
we
want to
ever
have
get
the
to the
option?
point, do we want the option of doing it? Like in Manchester, you maintain your piece of sidewalk. That's a requirement.
That, which is very common back in Massachusetts,
Right.
for example,
Everywhere,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah.
except here.
What about aprons?
Well,
Yeah.
aprons,
Is that town? Town
Right now?
responsibility? Yeah.
not right now. An apron for a driveway?
Yeah.
No, that's from the right of way out,
It's the owner.
it's the owner.
Well, I guess I'm not sure what she means by
Yeah,
that.
we'd have to.
So why sit here and wonder, we'll just ask her. Put a question mark.
Yes.
But it'd be good to have that option if she
If that's what she needs.
Okay, under pedestrian and bicycle paths, she's got this whole paragraph with a note, get legal review of this.
suggestion
Because we may require the person.
Suggestion for, I'm not sure, next, I don't know. Let's talk.
But this is based upon what the core working group wants to do around areas. This is actually pretty important. Maybe.
Yeah, if that's the thing, maybe, I'm not sure what she, put that last sentence that suggests.
wider. So wider, suggestion for wider of this.
And then there was something underneath that got crossed out to be.
Right.
Well, I don't know, let's,
Maybe she said it should be wider, I don't know. For wider.
oh yeah,
Suggestion for wider.
Now,
for wider use.
is that,
Let's see what she.
I have a sidewalk and then an 8-foot additional right of way? Is that what this is saying?
Pedestrian and bicycle paths, the applicant may be required to provide for approximately 8 feet of public right-of-way near or existing, or all existing or proposed streets or accessing public open space for pedestrian and bicycle paths. The applicant may be required to construct these paths, but in any case, the paths shall connect with existing or posted pedestrian bicycle paths and be consistent with existing construction standards. The applicant must provide a public use easement for pedestrian and or bicycle paths. And then she says, get legal review of this. Maybe you can't require it, I don't know. And suggest for wider, maybe wider to use, wider use.
For, what suggestion?
Or,
We'll ask her.
yeah, that's, I think it's something worth talking about, but I don't understand what the suggestion is, other than the legal review, which I can understand.
But the whole concept of the pedestrian and bicycle path
It's part of our plan.
is part of our plan and really important.
Yes.
I don't know how the hell you put it in now, but that's a sidewalk.
But to be able to force the applicant to provide a public use easement for pedestrian, I don't know whether that's legal or not.
So I think she's referring to forcing the applicant to construct
Yeah,
these passages.
maybe, maybe not. I guess we'll get further information from her and we can have the council review the legality of it. Okay, under utilities. This is where the board may require extension of public water service. This is requirement of utilities to service this new subdivision, and she's got within something right,
Or
within,
X feet, X,
within X feet.
X, or X something, X number of,
I thought it was an RX with drugs.
or X.
I don't know, I'm gonna put a question mark. Storm drain. She's crossed out storm drain, it says update,
Update. Must be something new.
this, she had referred to this earlier on, and this is where she said go to
And
standards.
strengthen.
Yeah,
Update and
update and
strengthen.
Okay,
All right. It's the whole section, all of it.
Yeah.
fire protection, she's
Added.
adding to it, yeah,
Sure.
okay. Going on to page 23, under placement, which is still under standards, I believe.
We're going to We're under boundary markers. We're under section G, boundary markers. Locations, specifications, placement of boundary markers.
Yeah,
Okay,
An engineer or land surveyor licensed in.
yeah, it's just another way of wording it, yeah.
yeah,
Shall set on monuments.
that's fine.
Under performance maintenance of improvements, conditions of approval, scratched out the first paragraph, which is the performance requirements, and said require applicant to sign notice of decision within
30 days.
30 days. Notice of decision.
The board's decision.
Board shall indicate in minutes a notice of decision,
Required.
required improvements.
Well, this gets to the agreement.
In its minutes and notice of decision. All required improvements, which the applicants must perform to the
Receive
subdivision approval, and then require the applicant to sign the notice of decision. Makes sense to that. Okay, the board may require applicant to enter a subdivider improvement. Now, she scratched that, I wonder why. The board may require the applicant to enter a subdivider improvement agreement. That's what we do. She's saying we don't have to do that.
She's taking it out for something.
Well, because it can be a condition of your approval. It's already covered in the above things, maybe. We can ask.
Okay, I'll circle the scratch out and put a question mark.
It seems her notation is what she wants to replace the scratch out.
Well, and that's fine.
No. It's an addition.
That is to require the applicant to sign it.
Yeah, that's an addition to.
To assign the condition on the decision, but that wouldn't outline the information on, or the requirements on the subdivision improvement app.
Maybe it's because it's handled in section B.
It could be that she doesn't want to duplicate it, but let's ask. Conditional approvals with performance surety in lieu of completion of all or a portion of such improvements prior to final approval. It's written
The
they,
planning board may grant,
okay.
ASPB.
Grant an approval subject to the performance of such obligations as conditions subsequent. The board may require such a surety performance conditions as seems necessary in form acceptable to it by a surety acceptable to the board. Surety shall normally be filed in the form of performance bond issued by the company authorized in the do business state of New Hampshire, letter of credit, so forth, or letter of,
Or letter of credit in the margin, she wrote.
yeah, it's already done here, in New Hampshire, or a letter of credit used by New Hampshire financial institution.
That's in the SIA.
Yeah, but she's written it in the paragraph here.
But I don't understand why she has letter of credit there when it's already in there.
Yeah, I know,
You can ask her.
question mark. And then I'll point to letter of credit where it's listed right here. Okay, next page, 24. Looks like a scratch out of it. The performance surety shall be released as specified in the subdivider improvement agreement.
That's because she's eliminated in the
Yeah.
above, I think.
Question that.
Condition, precedent,
She's made the correction of registered or licensed
right.
state
So it's just-
surveyor and to be licensed in New Hampshire, that's okay.
The board may, and the applicant may agree upon phased performance of improvements. I suppose that's all right.
Oh, yeah, well, that would be in the SIA.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where we're moving phase.
Okay, hearing is generally to determine if conditions precedent,
Have been met. This is what inspection fees are for. This all relates to para 5.
at the board's request, if the board so determines at the request of the subdivider or a directly affected person, the board shall schedule a compliance hearing. Have we ever done a compliance hearing?
No.
to determine if the subdivider has complied with conditions subsequent. Notice of the compliance hearing shall be provided in the same manner as a subdivision hearing and shall be sent to the subdivider, all abutters and directly affected parties. The board need not schedule a hearing to ascertain compliance with conditions which are ministerial in nature. She writes, hearing is generally to determine if conditions precedent have been met. This is what inspection fees are for. Now, precedent are the conditions that have to be met after approval or before approval?
Subsequence after precedent is.
Right, I think she means, this may be preceding, in other words, the conditions that we had laid on them. In this sentence, I think. Hearing is generally determined if the conditions not precede, in other words, the conditions that preceded
The approval.
the approval have been met.
That's right. So in other words, you don't just get to, the developer doesn't get to just say, well, I did it all, so I'm gonna move forward.
Right.
I'm approved. You guys have to meet again and say, you did all the preceding things.
Right.
Now you're approved.
And that's paperwork.
Well, depends. Do you need, does the whole board want to say, yes, they
Right.
met all of the requirements? Or do they want to say, you can say, yeah, you're good to go?
No, but these requirements that we're referring to are all paperwork requirements. They're making changes to the plan. They're,
No, I don't
providing-
think so, because her next sentence is, this is what inspection fees are for. In other words, we levy inspection fees in order to inspect to make sure what was done properly.
but we haven't
No,
been,
those are subsequent.
yeah,
Right.
Those are
we,
conditions subsequent.
Right,
preceding or precedent, I'm not sure which is the right way of saying preceding,
proceeding.
would mean that before we sign the Mylar,
That's correct.
they have to be done.
They have to be done.
And these would not be physical things.
I
These would be,
think, like, if you made a change to the covenants, or you made a change to condo documents or something, somebody needs to look at them and say, what the planning board required, you did. Now Terry can sign the Mylar and you can record it, right? The question is, do you want to get together again as a planning board, review those changes and say, yes, you've met them? Or are you gonna let this be up to the chairman or whoever to make sure that it's done, and then Terry has the.
I think that the determination as to whether or not conditions subsequent have been met would be the building inspector. At the time of final turnover, what is it? What does he give the subdivider when he's done his work? Some sort of a conditional, occupancy permit or something?
CO?
Okay, C of O. So he's really the one that determines whether or not those conditions have been met. I can't see the board getting together after the subdivider is done and having a hearing as to whether or not he's completed the correct stuff.
Well, the bond that is done for the subdivider improvement agreement would be released. That's up to the Board of Selectmen and the code enforcement officer to say, yes, it was done correctly.
So we have to meet in order to do that.
No,
No, you don't.
right. The board need not schedule a hearing to ascertain compliance with conditions which are ministerial in nature.
That's right.
Which
That's
is-
all taken care of.
Right.
That can be taken care of.
If we're just talking.
Okay, so this whole paragraph has to do with conditions subsequent. So she's saying that this is usually what inspection is for, inspection fees.
Yeah.
You send your engineer out and he
Right.
reports back.
That's right.
So this, basically, the paragraph says you can have a hearing if the board requires it or would like to have it, or if the developer or subdivider would like to have it. Doesn't mean we have to.
Or an affected person.
Or all butter.
Or an abutter.
Well,
Now,
I
what
don't know.
is Tara suggesting here?
It could be just a comment. Do we
Hearings
understand?
generally to determine if
Doesn't
conditions
change
precedent are preceding have been met. This is what inspection fees are for.
I think she's saying that when you have a meeting, to determine if the physical actions that the developer said they were going to do have been done, that's why we charge them, that's why we charge inspection fees. But if all we're talking about is something ministerial in nature, we don't have to have a meeting.
It looks to me as though she's saying this paragraph shouldn't be for conditions subsequent, it should be for conditions preceding. That's when you would normally have a hearing, that's
Yeah.
what she's saying.
I thought this was just clarification.
Yeah, maybe we just need to ask. No, she's not, doesn't seem to be recommending any language.
I think it's just kind of a comment.
But, yeah, let's see, maybe she's just trying to make sure we understand why we would hold such a meeting.
This is in the let's talk comment.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know why, when you would get together, she needs to explain.
Right.
why.
Okay, under the administration and enforcement, section A, this is a waiver she's written,
Not a
modifications.
modification.
Is that agreeable?
Sure, we got waiver later on.
Okay.
Earlier. We had it earlier.
25, under implement of approval of approved plats, implementation of approved plats. She's written expand to 5 years. This is a time thing.
This relates to the approval shall be valid for a term of 1 year. Shall be para 2. Said earlier, improvements have 2 years, question mark. Improvements, does she mean improvements or approvals?
Said
Earlier, improvements have 2 years, but but approvals is. We consider emphasis. How long to
Can-
meet conditions
precedent.
preceding? I think she knows.
That's always been a sticking point for how long you give them. Is it 30 days, 60 days, 10 days? Usually they want to get started right away,
Mhm.
so they want some short time frame.
I'd like to talk to Tara about
Yeah.
that. She must have
Yeah.
experience in that.
This is the approval to subdivide, how long that approval is operative. Right?
For the subdivider improvement agreement?
No, it just said, well, this is under administration and enforcement, implementation of approved plats. Approval shall be valid for a term of 1 year. She says expand to 5 years,
Right,
unless otherwise stated in the approval and notice of decision.
yes.
And then she has a couple of questions on either side of it that I'm not quite sure.
Well, that's because the
Right.
5 year is what's it's the protection that's in the statute from changes in the zoning ordinance,
Okay,
right?
'Cause the
So you've
plat
got
is the
5 years
recorded.
to become vested,
right,
right? And you don't have to,
right.
meet any changes in the
Right.
subdivision regulations during that 5 year period.
Right. And so I think the one question says, said earlier improvements have 2 years. Maybe she meant approvals have 2 years. Have we?
No,
Yeah.
you have 2
Improvement.
years to start the improvements.
Okay, got
And
it.
as long as you are actively working on them,
Right,
you are protected for 5 years.
right,
To finish,
To finish, to become vested, that doesn't mean you finish all of the improvements, but that you
Okay.
are substantially complete in those.
Okay, let's talk to her. I want to get
Yeah.
her input on that.
Yeah,
okay, yeah, since it is.
Under enforcement, the subdivision regulations shall be enforced by the Board of Selectmen or its duly authorized representative. Site inspections, the town planning engineer, or in the absence of town planning engineer, property license engineer hired by the town shall inspect all improvements. The developer shall pay for the cost of the employment of said engineer and the cost of the inspections and tests deemed necessary by the selectmen or the planning board or the town engineers. She's crossed out the next. The developer's concurrence with the employment of said engineer will be a part of the subdivider's improvement agreement. The selectmen or planning board shall have the right to waive this requirement for a minor subdivision or adjustment. She says not applicable. And she writes over here in the column, escrow prior to signing and recording plat as a condition of approval.
Did you cross that out?
No, I think she's
that-
saying.
Oh,
the
she's
hotel.
got- putting that in, I see.
Yeah.
It's a comment she's.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the standard way of doing it, does that work for you, Mark?
Yeah, when the subdivider improvement agreement is signed, there needs to be the letter of credit or the bond.
Yes, escrow money.
Escrow.
Okay, we'll put okay.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you for everybody for coming and going through this.
Let's do it again.
Nick, I'll give you this with all these
Next
important notes on it.
No, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So Terry, the, like our next meeting, are we gonna like have the subcommittees report in on the master plan